What's up, everybody? You're listening to Fantasy Flex from the Action Network. I'm your host, Chris Raybon, and today we're going to discuss some more rookies. On this episode, we'll discuss rookie landing spots that we don't like for fantasy. I'm joined, as always, by one of the top projectors in the biz, the most accurate ranker in the game, the odds maker, Sean Kerner. Sean, what's going on?
What's up? Yeah, I'm looking forward to complain about some of these landing spots. I feel like this year was a pretty frustrating draft. So this segment I'm looking forward to. I have many complaints on some of these fantasy landing spots.
Before we jump in, I just want to let all of you listeners out there know that Action Network's fantasy content is moving to Fantasy Labs. So your new home for fantasy football, best ball, season-long content from Sean and myself is fantasylabs.com. So again, if you're looking for fantasy articles, rankings, content, all that good stuff, be sure to head over to fantasylabs.com, and that's where you shall find it. All right, let's jump in. Least favorite rookie landing spots, we'll do 4 each of these, just like we did for our top rookie landing spots. That episode is out now. Be sure to check that out. But least favorite rookie landing spot, Sean, where are you going first?
Brock Bowers going to the Raiders in round 1. He's one of the best rookie tight ends we've seen maybe since Kyle Pitts, and that's saying something with Sam Laporta and Dalton Kincaid in last year's draft. I was hoping Bowers would end up going to the Jets at pick 10. He would have been linked to Aaron Rodgers, would have been their starting tight end on day 1. There was even some buzz around the Rams potentially trading up to get him. I think that would have been a fun landing spot as well. Instead, the Raiders selected him once Michael Penix was off the board. They kind of scrambled and just took the best player available. You can't blame them. But it's just not ideal since they spent second round draft capital on Michael Mayer last year. He's a very good two-way tight end, so he's probably going to become more of a blocking tight end. And Bowers is excellent. He's going to be the starting tight end on day 1. But they already have, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers. So there's a chance Bowers is, the number 2, number 3 target in an offense that's going to be led by some combination of Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. So, he's going to succeed based on talent alone. But this just wasn't an ideal landing spot for many reasons. I was also excited for Michael Mayer heading into year 2.
Mm-hmm.
This crushes that as well. So, I have Bowers as the tight end 13. His ADP is tight end 11. I think he's certainly in that low end tight end 1 discussion already, but there could have been many other, better landing spots for Bowers as opposed to the Raiders.
Yeah, it almost kind of kills the value of 2 tight ends at once because, Bowers was supposed to be kind of like a shoe-in, top 10 tight end now he's kind of on that fringe where, things could get a little dicey. Antonio Pierce, they want to be more of a, run-heavy team. They already got Adams, as you mentioned. Myers played really well last year. Neither of these quarterbacks is a quarterback that you're going to say, oh, let's line up and throw 35, 40 times a game unless you have to with. So, yeah, it's not an ideal situation and not ideal for Mayer either because he was supposed to be kind of like a sweeper, a guy who you could draft as a TE2 who had an outside shot, on talent as well of being a tight end 1. And now that's pretty much shot. So, I mean, I do think they'll run a lot of 2 tight end sets, but still, you don't want like the second tight end in that 2 tight end set. That's like a crapshoot. I mean, maybe in best ball it could work out, but it just kind of kills the value a little bit of 2 guys at once and makes tight end even more difficult to navigate than it already was. And I think this year, I mean, every year we say tight end is like a crapshoot. This year it feels even more like it than usual. I mean, Kelsey is 35. Like the guys at the top have 1 year or a half year of like production at that level in terms of like reporters of year 2 guy. McBride did it for like half a year. Like it's a wild year for tight end.
Yep.
I mean, so didn't like that one bit. But I guess we have the Falcons to thank because
exactly. More on
taking
that
Michael
later.
Penix. Yeah, right. Exactly. But that kind of set everything in motion. Speaking of quarterbacks, I'm going to go with another quarterback, not Penix, but Drake Maye to New England. Do not love that. I mean, when you look at the top 3 quarterbacks, Caleb Williams goes to Chicago, stacked. skill position group, pretty decent O-line. Then, number 2, Jaden Daniels. It's like, all right, step down from Chicago, but, at least you got Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson. Like, you got some talent there. Cliff Kingsbury could be interesting. And then Drake Maye to New England is like, you got no receivers. You got an offensive line that finished bottom 5 in pass blocking last year, lost their left tackle. You got an offensive coordinator, Alex Van Pelt, that's been spending his time in these run-heavy Cleveland offenses with Stefanski. Like, it's just nothing is exciting about Drake Maye's landing spot except Drake Maye himself, which, I mean, that's great, I guess, if you're a Patriots fan and, this guy may be able to turn things around for your franchise, but, I mean, it's Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas, Jalen Polk. Who's gonna be his top target? Like this, I mean,
Juju
easily. You're right. Yeah, I mean, no, I'm not even. He doesn't count. He doesn't count. But I mean, clearly, like easily the worst wide receiver room in the league. Easily, not even close. This is an offense that scored tied for an NFL 13.9 points a game last year, and I mean, outside of Drake Maye and the backup Jacoby Brissett, I mean, I don't know that they've really improved much anywhere. So, so it's a situation where, it's gonna, like, if Drake Maye can have a productive rookie year, especially in fantasy, that's just a testament to him, because this is not like a CJ Stroud situation where, I think they were like, okay, like there's some guys that you thought could pop, and like Nico Collins was there, and Tank Dell was intriguing. Like, I mean, they did draft a couple of rookies, Baker, Pope. I just, there's nothing really for me to get excited about if like in terms of his landing spot. I don't know about you.
No, this is not ideal, and I guess I'll get your projected games in a second, but this is a situation where, it might make sense to redshirt his entire rookie season, because like you just said, he's not really set up for success. The offensive line's an issue. He has no one to throw to. It might do more harm than good by just throwing him out there. We've seen people, their careers just get derailed immediately. And this is a situation where maybe they kind of tank one more season, have Jacoby Brissett start most of the season, and then continue the rebuild, and then start Maye once he's ready. So right now I'm projecting him 12 games. But, this is a situation where if he starts fewer than 8 games, I would not be shocked. I think this is a scenario where they might not want him to play too many games as a rookie, just because you nailed it. The situation is just brutal right now.
Yeah, I have him at 13, but I'm hearing more and more. I guess I didn't, like, maybe it was because of the draft, but I didn't realize, or I'm just starting to realize how realistic it might be for them to sit him. I thought there was no chance they were going to sit him,
right?
For any extended period of time, but I keep hearing, people suggesting that, that kind of cover the team. So I'm guessing it's at least a thought. Now they do have a very late bye week, week 14. So that's kind of interesting as well, because there's no like natural, insertion point. I mean, I guess you have a 10-day break after week 3. You go to the Jets, and then you have on Thursday Night Football, then you have the 10-day break till the next week at San Francisco. So, I mean, maybe that, but I mean, if he's not starting already, do you really want to make his first start across the country against one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league? It's tough. So, but at the same time, like, he could end up elevating guys around him too. That's always a possibility. So we still have to monitor him in camp, but this kind of reminds me a little bit of the Bryce Young situation from last year, where it's like, it's just really hard to see this guy having success and hit the ground running given what's surrounding him, and that's about the best way I could put it. So, but again, like if it's just based on his talent, that's what we'll have to change it. But there's nothing else around him at all that would suggest that he should, exceed expectations. So it'll have to be his own doing. All right. Where do you go next? Rookie landing spots you hate?
Yeah, let's go with the running back. Marshawn Lloyd ended up going to the Packers. 3rd round pick out of USC. Again, this was not a great running back class. I didn't really like any of the landing spots really. And Lloyd was considered, top 5 back in this class. I thought he was sneaky. Again, if he landed on Dallas, probably being drafted in the top 35 or so. But instead, he landed in Green Bay, who already have Josh Jacobs. They kept A.J. Dillon. So Lloyd's a good pass catching back. So he does have a path there. Jacobs, I think he's a better pass catching back than people give him credit for. But that's probably where they want to get him off the field. A.J. Dillon, more of a power back. So there's a chance Lloyd can carve out a third down role as a rookie. But he probably needs not just one back to go down, but maybe two to really be a trusted fantasy running back. Where some of these other guys you mentioned, Blake Corum, if Kyron goes down, Corum's a top 20 kind of running back. Trey Benson in Arizona, same thing. But Lloyd is in a situation where he might need two backs to miss time. So just not a great landing spot, like the talent. Maybe, down the road, maybe in 2 or 3 years, he'll be a, top 30 type back, but just didn't love the landing spot. And my rank is RB 60, and his ADP is RB 45, which is pretty aggressive in my opinion, just given the situation. But yeah, Lloyd was one running back specifically. I just didn't love the landing spot.
Yeah, I think a lot of people didn't, part of that ADP is, coming from, people didn't think they were going to actually re-sign Dylan. And then they did. And now people who cover the team think that like the most likely scenario at this point is that it's kind of like the Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, AJ Dillon situation when Dillon was a rookie. He was that number 3 guy. And then, the next year they let Williams go. And then, he became that number 2 guy. That's possible. I mean, Dillon has his ups and downs. The weird thing is, I thought personally, just from watching Dillon last year, I thought he looked at his best in the pass game. Like I thought he actually came on well as a pass catcher. I thought he just like moved better in space catching passes and looked a lot better than he did running the football between the tackles. I also, he's big enough, to be a pretty solid pass blocker as well. So that complicates things even more for Lloyd. So yeah, I mean, there's a chance that Lloyd just on talent could overtake Dillon this season, and it really have to be early for you to draft it with any confidence. But if Dillon starts the year second on the depth chart, it's going to be hard to get behind Lloyd, because now you're talking about a guy that, like you said, needs 2 guys really to go down. All right, next up for me is wide receiver Ricky Pearsall. Went to the Niners with the 31st overall pick. Wide out of Florida, high IQ guy. So kind of a guy that I think the Niners do see a future for down the line, maybe as like a Juwan Jennings replacement. But, this year, for a guy drafted this high, I think it's a pretty bad landing spot because, yes, you got one of the most efficient pass offenses, but you got the highest volume pass catching running back, one of the highest volume tight ends. You got 2 very, very good wide receivers that they are saying now that they're not going to trade in Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. Juwan Jennings is back and probably is going to be the wide receiver 3 because he is a great blocker. He's a great third down receiver, and he had a very clutch postseason. So, like, even if you were thinking about, okay, maybe we got to phase him out, like he kind of shushed any of that noise. So I like, at best, I think Pearsall is the number 4 wideout, barring, an unforeseen trade of Deebo or Ayuk. And, even if he was going to be one of the, like, even if they did trade one of those guys, again, you still have like the highest volume running back and one of the highest volume tight ends. You still have, a alpha receiver, whether it's Ayuk or Deebo, who's going to get a lot of targets. And you still have an offense that average an NFL low 28.9 pass attempts per game. So it's tough to really like Pearsall this year. I think, going down the line, in the future, dynasty-wise, there's some intrigue there. But for this year, do not love the landing spot. Just for a guy, usually when you're talking about a first-round wide receiver, you could pencil him in for, 80, at least 80 targets, where I don't think you can get there to Pearsall. I might not even get half that many this year. So did not like the landing spot for him.
Yeah, I agree. It would have been good landing spot if they did end up trading away, either Debo or Ayuk. But it's also an offense that uses 11 personnel, the lowest rate. I mean, you got to get Kyle Juszczyk his snaps too.
Right,
so
right.
it's just he really needs somebody to go down. I like him as a talent. Like next year, it's unlikely they'll have both Debo and Ayuk. I think next year Pearsall could be a top 40 type receiver in this offense. But yeah, as a rookie, it was a very bad landing spot for his rookie season.
Yeah, he'll probably do some things on special teams and whatnot. Like he'll be a part, like active and a part of the game plan, I think. But yeah, it's not fantasy. He'll be more valuable in real life than fantasy, I guess is what I'm saying. All right, who you got next?
Well, let's go with the pick that shocked the world. Michael Penix Jr. Going to the Falcons at pick 8. It was really bizarre because they had just signed Kirk Cousins. This didn't seem like a win now move. Either way, this is just a bad landing spot for Penix himself because I had him pegged going to the Raiders, where I think he would have been the week 1 starter, and I think he would have been pretty good as rookie. I'm pretty high on Michael Penix Jr., but he is very unlikely to start over a healthy Kirk Cousins, which maybe is a factor because Kirk Cousins is coming back from the Achilles tear last year. I'm not sure where he is in his recovery. I'm assuming he'll be ready to go week 1, but there is a shot that he won't be. But this is just a rough landing spot for Penix Jr. This is similar to Jordan Love with the Packers a few years ago, where he's just going to sit potentially the first couple seasons, and then he might take over once they move on from Kirk Cousins. But it was a ripple effect that caused Brock Bowers to go to the Raiders, and just had all these other negative consequences, I think, in terms of fantasy landing spots. So the Falcons really screwed things up in that way. But just for Michael Penix Jr., this was a bad landing spot because I was projecting him for 14 plus games this year, and now it's like a half game. So that was just a huge blow to his his 2024 draft stock.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins says he's been ready to go. Like if the Super Bowl was today, he would play. So I mean, the Falcons front office, did they say, "Oh my God, we gave all this money to a 36-year-old coming off an Achilles"? Like, and it was like a panic move. Did they plan this the whole? Like, you can't really get a straight answer, and the plan for Penix makes you question it even more because they're like, "Oh, we gonna have him sit," and it's like, but why? Yeah. Like the biggest edge is one of the biggest edges you can have in the NFL is a good franchise quarterback on a rookie deal. So I don't know. And he's old. Like, what are you paying? Like 6 years in school? So this was it was a head scratch.
25 in season, I think, or he's 24 now. So bizarre. I mean, choice.
I guess best player available. I guess that's. But
yeah, I mean. It's sort of a hybrid move. They have a good backup quarterback, I guess. Like, they get the best of both worlds. But it's just, like you said, you either want a rookie on the rookie contract or like a quarterback on the rookie contract that's actually playing, or win now mode. Now they have Kirk Cousins. Get a defensive player. Something like that would have made sense. But yeah, they definitely shocked me when they went that route.
I wonder. I would have to. I wonder if somebody has looked this up already. But the Falcons might be the first team in history to get like a tight end in the top 10, a wide receiver in the top 10, a running back in the top 10, and a quarterback in the top 10 in successive years. Like like they had. It was Pitts, London, Bijan, and now Penix. Like that's pretty nuts. Yep. Okay. The next guy whose landing spot I did not like was a 4th round running back, Will Shipley out of Clemson. He goes to the Eagles with the 27th pick of the 4th round. And I mean, this is a bad running back class. So you didn't really have high hopes for anybody, but you did have Ray Davis go to the Bills a pick later, which I think is a much better land. Would have been a much better landing spot, just because I think it is wide open behind James Cook, and the Bills were a lot more run heavy upon switching coordinators last year. But with Shipley going to the Eagles, it's like there's a lot of different things to where it's kind of just not ideal. For one, they spent big to acquire Saquon Barkley, who averages over 20 touches per game in his career. So, I mean, I don't think they paid all that money they might not give him a straight 20, but like they're not going to, he's already kind of, mid 20s in terms of age. Like there's no reason to kind of keep the training wheels on with him. And then that means you're probably fighting for scraps with a guy like Kenneth Gainwell. Now there is a new coordinator in Kellen Moore. So, that could switch and maybe Shipley, maybe Gainwell falls out of favor, but like it's still tough because Shipley was a good pass catcher at Clemson, caught 84 passes over his 3 seasons there, but Jalen Hurts doesn't check down much, and Saquon Barkley is also a good pass catcher, and Kenneth Gainwell is also a good pass catcher. So from that angle, you're like, okay, there's probably not much there. It's not like Saquon's just this 2-down back who and Shipley can work his way into a 3rd down role. And if you're just looking at a pure backup, I mean, even with Swift there last year, Gainwell averaged 7.1 touches per game, but he had 33 touches in the first 2 games, and they were still kind of experimenting with maybe going with him as the lead back. But then from over his last 14 games, just 5.8 touches per game behind DeAndre Swift. So this is kind of like this Marshawn Lloyd situation where it's like he might need 2 injuries. He might end up 3rd on the depth chart to start. Now, late 4th round pick. It's not surprising, but the fact that, Ray Davis, again, went to Buffalo a pick later is like, if Shipley's in Buffalo, we're talking like there's a lot more upside there. So I did not like this landing spot here in Philly. And you also, this Philly offensive line is probably going to be the worst it's been. It still should be good, but, with Kelsey retiring, you got to expect some drop off there in that as well. So yeah, just not ideal for Will Shipley.
Yeah, no, it's like his upside is maybe he gets in the tush push package where he's helping Jalen Hurts score touchdowns. But yeah, this is a brutal landing spot. And like you said, Ray Davis, I didn't mention him on the other pod, but that was a great landing spot in Buffalo. Just because they're probably going to run the ball a lot more without, Diggs in the mix. But yeah, like you said, just 1 pick later could have had a great landing spot. This was definitely a poor landing spot for Shipley.
Yeah, I think we went 4 deep for that pod too. If we went 5, I think Davis would have been 5th in terms of favorite landing spots. All right, who you got? Who's your 4th guy?
I'm going to wrap it up with a wide receiver. Rome Odunze ended up on the Bears. 1st round pick out of Washington. And, he was a 3rd wide receiver selected and just an elite wide receiver class. I think any other year could have been the top 1 or 2 wide receivers taken. So I love the talent, but just don't like this landing spot for his rookie season specifically because they already have Keenan Allen and DJ Moore there. Even Cole Kmet is going to command targets. And it's going to be led by rookie Caleb Williams. We don't really know how good he's going to be as a rookie, but it's an offense that may only average, around 230 passing yards a game or so. So there's just not much left to go to the 3rd wide receiver. So this just reminds me of, like Jackson Smith and Jigba's landing spot last year, or even CeeDee Lamb a few years ago when he landed, in Dallas. I said, it's going to hurt his rookie projections, but down the road, he's going to thrive once he becomes the guy. And that's how I view Odunze's career arc. It could be similar to CeeDee Lamb where, he gets off to a semi-slow start, but in a few years could be the, one of the top receivers in the game. So you just have to be patient with him. He is certainly capable of being a number 1 type of receiver. But just based on this landing spot, that's probably going to get delayed a couple years. Now, if, Keenan Allen or DJ Moore go down, like he's going to step up and be a top 30 receiver. But unfortunately, you just don't want that. You don't need that as his path to value. Whereas, Marvin Harrison Jr., you mentioned, that's a great landing spot. He's going to be the guy out of the gate. And unfortunately for Odunze, based on the landing spot, we just can't say that.
Yeah. Even Malik Neighbors going to be the guy out the gate. Yep. Right? It makes Chicago a lot of fun. It's great. It's great for Caleb Williams. It's great for Caleb Williams, but I guess, a lot of people, because like Odunze gets drafted in the top 30, especially in best ball, a lot. And I guess people are kind of thinking Keenan Allen's going to get hurt again or miss a ton of games. But I mean, Keenan Allen's so good. He missed 4 games last year. still had 150 targets and finishes a top 10 fantasy receiver.
Yep.
Like, I mean, now, granted, that should go down a little bit. He's got a little bit more competition, but I mean, that just shows you how good Keenan Allen is. And we haven't even, and then there's DJ Moore, who is also, what do you have, like a 200, 300-yard game
DJ
last
Moore
year? I mean,
amazing.
Yeah, these guys. And then you got Cole Kmet still there. You got Gerald. Like, there's just a lot of pass catchers to where you just don't need Odunze to put up a monster season or even a normal top 10 pick wide receiver rookie season, and you could still be fine. So yeah, I didn't love it for his fantasy value or his immediate fantasy value either. It's just it's like kind of a head scratcher too, because it's like he continues to be drafted just so high in best ball, and it's like, I mean, at that point it's like you better have Caleb Williams in everyone. I don't because if you're drafting Odunze inside the top 30, I mean, that Caleb Williams is gonna have some season.
Yes,
he could. He could.
Yeah. He could. He that's kind of the point. That's the beauty of best ball. You do want to go for upside. Mm-hmm. So definitely want some Bears stacks out there. And like you mentioned, Keenan Allen has shown no signs of drop off. Is he the other receiver that you were debating, Friedman, that epic 15-minute battle?
Yeah, it was
that
Keenan
Allen versus.
I had Keenan Allen. He had AJ Green. Yeah. Where he at? Where's he at? Where's AJ at? Where's he at? Keenan's still out here putting up top 10 numbers in 13 games. Route running, man. It never fails. I totally agree on Odunze. It's just, I mean, like, what do you think is a real, like, assuming Keenan Allen doesn't miss like ridiculous, like, just within the normal range of a wide receiver missing time? Like, what do you think a realistic target count is for Rome Odunze?
Yeah, no, that's I took a deep dive the other day projecting the Bears. It's so tricky right now. I have Keenan Allen right around 5 catches a game, DJ Moore just under 5, like 4.7, and Odunze 3.7 catches a game, and I feel confident with that split. But it's I like all 3 receivers. It's so tough trying to divvy it out. So it kind of, all 3 of them kind of cancel each other out in a sense. Like you said, this is all just great news for Caleb Williams. Like, it's an embarrassment of riches. And we didn't talk about Cole Kmet is still, an up and coming tight end. So they're just really hard to project right now because I like all 3 receivers in their own right. But that's where I have it right now, like 5 for Keenan, 4.5 for DJ Moore, and around 3.5 for Odunze, which again just goes to show this is not an ideal landing spot for him as a rookie. What about you? How do you have those 3 split up?
A little bit lower for Odunze, like 3, like more in the 3 to 3.5, like 3.25. Like, I think like his prop each week should probably be like 3.5, and but it'll probably go under more times than he goes over if guys are healthy. Yeah. Now he could still be efficient. Like those catches could still be very efficient, but I mean, it's just tough with Keenan Allen and DJ, like receivers that's like, those are some very good receivers. It's kind of like Smith and Jigba last year. It's like, yeah, he's great, but you're talking about DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and like Keenan Allen and DJ Moore are probably even better than DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. So,
in that situation, like, we already know like how good or how Geno Smith is in the NFL. The whole other element to this is just we also need to project Caleb Williams at the same time, which just makes this. I think it's fun. It's it's a nightmare trying to project right now, but I think it's fun trying to figure this out because this could be really good, or we're going to be very disappointed. But just they surround Caleb Williams with a ton of talent. He has no excuses as a rookie. But yeah, like having Rome Odunze as your number 3 receiver is pretty good.
Yeah, man. Oh, man. Can't believe Curb ended. That was my show. But I think that's it's almost like the opposite of this Bryce Young Drake May type of situation. It's like it's like no matter how bad Caleb Williams is, he can only, like, statistically, he could probably only be so bad. I mean, unless guys are just getting injured, dropping like flies out here.
You know who I feel bad for though? Justin Fields. Because
right, a year late.
His rookie season, who the hell was he had like Marquise Goodwin, Darnell Mooney was, out, the Allen Robinson, like they didn't really set him up for success, and now he's backing up Russell Wilson on the Steelers, and he gets to see, Caleb Williams with this great trio of receivers. I feel bad for Justin Fields.
And if they had kept Fields, that means they could have drafted Marvin Harrison and Rome Odunze and have Odunze as the number 4. They wouldn't have actually done that, I don't think. Right. But you never it would have that team could have been even more loaded because you would have had an extra pick that you wouldn't have necessarily had to spend on a quarterback that early. So yeah, hey, Justin Fields. The thing is, he showed flashes, but he never put it together. I think. The fact that it was weird to me that Tomlin was just so set on Russell Wilson's our quarterback. That just struck me as weird. Why not just let him battle it out? It wasn't Russell Wilson was that much better to where it was oh man, we got it. Because that's the whole problem with Russell Wilson. Everywhere he goes, people are just he's out of touch with reality, and then you just anoint him the starter role after
He's minus 1,000 to start week 1. Are you saying we should nibble on Justin Fields at plus 600 here to be the week 1 starter?
Yeah. Just for because Justin Fields might just put a banana peel out in the cafeteria. Russell Wilson just goes, I didn't realize the odds were that crazy. That's wild.
Because that's Russell Wilson can tweak something and just not even be healthy for week 1. That scenario too. It just seems...
and I guess they at this point were they just not play him in the preseason? Because there's also if they play him in the preseason and he looks horrible, what do they do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways that I gotta go find that bet and make it on Justin Fields because that's pretty intriguing. Although, what if Justin Fields starts at kick returner? Does that count?
No, he has to start at quarterback. They make that very clear.
But what if it's a Taysom Hill thing where he gets the first snap? Would that count?
Look, I think you would present a very compelling case if that were to happen.
No, there's a lot of ways. Yeah,
it'd be tough not to pay you out if that happens.
All right, we digress. I'll close it out with the fourth guy whose landing spot I do not like as a rookie, Jalen McMillian. It feels like we're picking on these Washington guys.
3 in a row, right?
Right. Well, 3 out of 4. Shipley was in the mix. But Jalen McMillian, wide receiver, goes to the Bucks late in round 3, and I think down the line he might be a replacement for Chris Godwin, who I don't know if they're financially going to be able to keep beyond this season. So that's good for his future prospects, perhaps. But in terms of this year, at best, he starts the year as the wide receiver 4 behind Evans, Godwin, and Trey Palmer, who had a pretty good rookie year in his own right. And then on top of that, let's say he got the Palmer role, which I think is unlikely. Palmer only averaged 4 targets a game last year. And on top of that, this pass offense could potentially take a step back because Dave Canales now goes after a 1-year stop in Tampa, in which he resurrected Mayfield a year after resurrecting Geno. Now he goes to Carolina, and Geno, it was subtle, but he did drop off pretty much across the board statistically. Pretty big drops in completion rate, 69.8% to 64.7, touchdown rate 5.2 to 4.0, passer rating 101 to 92 for Geno. So this Buck pass offense could take a step back, which that's even worse for a guy who's at best going to be, maybe ends the year as a number 3 receiver, but more than likely it's going to be the number 4 because I think Palmer showed very well last year, especially down the stretch. He made some key grabs in the postseason and whatnot. So, like to find some gems here in round 3 or end of day 2 at wide receiver, but Jalen McMillian, Tampa Bay, just not the ideal spot, I think, for a guy like him to go for this year, at least.
Yeah. I think maybe this is just a plan to piss off Trey Palmer, get him some competition because as our fellow colleague Nick Giffen pointed out in the postseason. Trey Palmer had scored a touchdown after every time he tweeted off he was pissed off. So maybe this is just the Bucs' grand plan to make sure he's continually pissed off this year.
Yeah, I like McMillian,
it. Yeah. Breathing down his neck.
Yeah, so essentially bump up Trey Palmer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if anything, bump up Trey Palmer.
Yeah, him and Otten were pretty much equal at targets last year. I think he had one more during the regular season, so maybe there's some more separation this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, realistically, dynasty wise, I like they're already paying Godwin over $20 million a year, something like that. Like he's probably going to command even more next year. So I think they'll like McMillian is like the logical succession plan, or at least they want that to have that option. So I think that's kind of the plan for him. All right, that is going to do it for another episode of the Fantasy Flex podcast. For more fantasy content from Sean and myself, remember its new home is fantasylabs.com. You can find Sean on X, formerly Twitter, at @the_oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Be sure to download and subscribe to Fantasy Flex wherever you get your podcasts. We'll continue to have episodes before the season as it gets closer and closer. We already have our favorite rookie landing spots out now. Don't forget to join the Action Network Discord as well. Thanks for listening. Until next time, let's get this shmoney.